Hello there everyone and welcome to a new review on the channel. And today we're going to be looking at an older product, but one that I love so much and one that served as the strongest piece in my most recent show that I've done during the weekend, and that is none other than Dani Ortiz's Fool Us Act. This is a wonderful piece of card magic that I think all of you will want to own. So let's learn more about it right after the intro. Perfect, so decide to stick around. It means you want to learn more about Dani Ortiz's Fool Us Act. So what is it? The Dani Ortiz Fool Us Act is, well, his Fool Us Act explained. So if you've watched the Fool Us Act that came out around a year ago, you'll know all about this. If, for some reason you haven't heard of it, I heavily encourage you to actually go watch it and get amazed by how good the act is. But what his download is, what the Fool Us Act download is essentially taking that act piece by piece, going behind the scenes, telling you the decisions of every single trick, why it's done the way it's done, why it's changed the way it's changed, and why it's chained the way it is, and explain every single trick. Now, I'm going to perform a section of this for you, not the full act, and the way that I perform it is fully different to that of Dani. I've taken the act, I've taken the parts I like, I've made them to my own liking, added my own pieces to it, and you're gonna see here one part of how I do it. I've added, other stuff with gimmick cards that are other complete downloads and other tricks into the act that I actually do with some of the pillars he puts on here. But without further ado, I'll do kind of a quick demonstration here of kind of the opening of the act and the way that I do it. So you'd show to your spectators that you have a bunch of different cards. You can have them look at it. You can spread it on the table. You can do whatever you want. Then you would proceed to have a spectator, let's say over there, say stop. Let's say they say stop here. You say perfect. We're going to place that card there. Now we're also going to need a pile of cards. So you just say stop and we're going to stop right here. So we're going to stop here right on that pile of cards. So now let's see. Two different choices. A person on a card, a person on a quantity of cards. Let's see if we can create a coincidence. We have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 cards. So if we have 10 cards here, then if that is a coincidence, this should be a 10. But let's push this a bit further. Let's have you, sir, over there, just say stop. Stop here. Okay, we'll go with someone else. Just say stop. Over there. Excellent. And you just say stop. Over there. Excellent. So now we've had people say stop at different positions. If there's a 10 here and a 10 here, then hopefully you've cut it to a 10, you've stopped at a 10, and you've stopped at a 10, which gives us the 4 10s. But I actually want, before we continue, I want you to take a look at the 10s. Make sure they're not glued, make sure they don't separate or anything like that. They're all good, right? And also, can someone take a look at the cards? Over there, excellent. Because what we're gonna do is we're gonna have, through the camera, I'm gonna go through the cards just like this and just say stop at any point. Stop here, are you sure? So we're gonna discard these cards over here. So now if you remember, let's see what we have here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So if you have 7 here, the cards that are over there beyond even my reach is now a 7, 7, 7, and 7. So that is a part of the act. That's not the main act, because the main part of the act is essentially the ritual that he does, which is the card at any number, which we're going to get into in a moment. But that is just the opener of the act, which I find brilliant, and I've changed it a bit to my own liking and to my own specifications, but that gives you a small idea of some of the material you're going to learn. So where are you going to learn this? How much does it cost? And what do you get? So you can buy this directly from Vanishing Ink exclusively. It's going to set you back 40 USD. And what you get is a nearly 3-hour and something download that goes over the act itself, the explanations, and then a piece-by-piece kind of reenactment of the act with Dani Ortiz telling you exactly what he did. So it's very nice to have him, at every point he freezes frame. So let's say he does a switch here. He says, look, my hand is going here, but my eyes are going there. And it shows you kind of like a piece-by-piece, slow-mo of every decision that he does and why he does it, which is brilliant, okay? So you're going to get that download. It's well filmed. And contrary to some other Dani D'Artiste releases where, he kind of skims through the tricks to dive more into philosophy and other aspects, over here, he really dissects the tricks heavily and are very easy to understand. And I really like the way that he did it, where one part of the section is no philosophy, no justification, is just brute method. And then he goes over in that dissection over the philosophy, the thinking behind it. It's brilliant. So that's what you get with your price. So now let's talk about difficulty. So how difficult is this to perform? This is not, it depends what you're going to do, because the first phase is what I've showed you. What I've showed you, the way that I do it, involves a ton of other principles and methods and shuffles, etc. The way that Dani does it is more difficult than my method, because his method is much more reliant on timing forces and other stuff like that. Mine does also rely, but I do have some safety nets that he doesn't need because he's mastered it much more than I have. So you can adjust this with your own slides, with your own ideas, which is very, very nice. So overall, this is adaptable, but I would say it's around the ballpark of intermediate, because after this phase, he goes over kind of a card to box, triple card to box, card on box, under box. That's very bold. And then he goes over the ritual, which is basically self-working, but there's still some things that you have to do as a magician here and there, not much, but some principles that you have to work on during the performance. So overall, it's not too hard. I'd say intermediate-ish level. In terms of practicality, all that you need to carry around to perform this act is a deck of cards, and that is it. So as long as you have a deck of cards, you are good to go. It does have to be specifically for the good rotation of everything. It doesn't have to be a full pack, but it's better for it to be a full pack for the ritual performance. It doesn't have to be, but it's better for, having any number named, etc. Okay? So if you have a deck, you'll be able to go. In terms of inspectability, it's a normal deck, can be fully inspected. In terms of reset, the reset takes around 15 seconds. There's just a small setup at the start, but the setup is super quick. And after the first trick, you don't have to set anything up or switch decks or anything. So for the rest, all the other tricks are instant setup. So if you just want to do the ritual, that's instant setup. You can do it with a borrowed shuffle deck, okay? In terms of angles, the angles are pretty good. I would say around a table for most of the tricks. You can do this pretty much 360 if you're very good at misdirection. If not, 180, 270 degrees, you'll be good to go. In terms of table, you do need a table for all of these effects. So none of these effects can really be done in the hand. They all require a seated area and a table in order to perform them. So that's important for you to keep in mind. Now let's talk about where do you perform. So since we just talked about table, it kind of gives you a hint. So this is not material that you're going to be using, table hopping, bar hopping, cocktail or anything like that, standing up, going from table to table, doing quick stuff. This won't really work. This needs a table setting, so kind of a parlor show or a stage show, or the gig that I had was at someone's house, but they set up a long table in the middle of the living room. They had me at the top of the table. Everyone was seated around the table. So it was kind of like a mini parlor setting at a very long table, and I had my own performance space, and I was able to do almost all the tricks from this act with my own additions flawlessly. So it is better to have a table when you are going to be performing this, so that limits a bit the performance area that you are going to have and the performances where you're going to be able to perform the Fool-less act. So now that we know that, what are the positives and negatives of the Fool-less act? So as always, we're going to start with the negatives. One of the negatives of the Fool-less act is the fact that you will always need a table, and a table is preferred in order to do this act or any of these tricks in the act. Additionally, that's pretty much all the negatives that I can say. So there's nothing more. So let's move on into the positives. What are the positives? It's practical material, relatively easy to do, really well shot, really well explained. The tutorial is fantastic. The tricks are fantastic. The way that the act is structured is fantastic. The fact that when you learn this act, like me, I've taken out half of the act in my performance. I do the start and the end, and the middle is my own with other tricks, other things. So it's nice that you can just take a pillar from the act, put it in your own, forget about the rest, or take 2-3 pillars, put them in your act, or take pillar number 3, because the pillars don't follow each other within the act. So what's nice is that you don't need the previous trick to do the next trick over, and so to speak. So it's nice that it's modular and you can do whatever you want with the pieces explained. Now that we've covered all of that, would I recommend the Fool-less Act, and what do I give it out of 10? Would I recommend the Fool-less Act? If you haven't picked this up and you like card magic, you like Dani Ortiz, and you've watched his full 10-minute act and you were fooled, go ahead and buy this. It's going to be an amazing, amazing purchase. Personally, I think it's one of Dani Ortiz's best download in terms of really being intricate on the method as well as the philosophy, because in a lot of downloads, he's more focused on the latter rather than the actual methods, and those are sometimes lacking and you get lost in kind of translation of what he's trying to say. But this one is brilliant in that regard. I highly, highly recommend it. I'm giving Dani Ortiz's Fool-less Act a 9.5 on 10. I think it is a must-have. So thank you everyone for watching. If you have any questions, leave them down below. If not, I'll see you on my next review. Have a good one, and bye-bye.